Hello property navigators, Luke Spearin here from Property Navigation. Now as we navigate this journey of property investment, there is one thing that stands out: due diligence. Now, due diligence identifies risks and opportunities in a property, ensuring a safe and goal-aligned investment. In short, it's a fancy word for getting your together and knowing what you're actually buying. It helps you create a short list of the best properties, and I often find it knocks about 30% of the properties off the list, helping you to avoid unnecessary inspections and the workload associated. Now, there are two key distinct due diligence phases: one that occurs pre-inspection or pre-offer, and due diligence that occurs once a property is under contract. Now, today we're focusing on your due diligence pre-inspection, but please note, we'll be circling back to some of these items should your offer be accepted. Another thing I really do want to stand out here is your due diligence goes throughout the entire property purchasing journey, not just specifically now and then later. But that's something for you to take away. What's really cool is we've created a very thorough pre-inspection due diligence checklist that you can download for free. The link for Ko-Fi, which is the website where you can download it from, is in the description below. If you really like the free downloadable checklist, you can buy us a coffee on the Ko-Fi website to help support this channel and the content that we create for you. Now be aware, conducting pre-inspection due diligence doesn't require you to know absolutely everything about the property, just whether it falls into the following three categories. Number one, do not inspect. For example, if the property is prone to severe flooding. Number two, further investigation is required and it's been added to your shortlist. A few items have popped up. You're going to go to the inspections with questions in hand to better understand this property's potential. And number three, the property's been shortlisted. Now this means the property shows no major red flags and the inspection is to check out the quality and the location of the property within the suburb. So here are 20 points you should be looking out for when doing due diligence on a property. Number one is nearby public housing. Now this refers to housing provided by the government for people with low incomes. Now it can influence the future value and desirability of your property. You want less than 15% of public housing on a street to be considered acceptable, with a preference for no public housing that shares a fence or borderline with your investment property. Now you can check out local government websites and databases for maps and locations of public housing. Number two is flooding. Is your property situated in a flood-prone area? Now, flood risks can impact insurance costs, your actual property value, and safety in the long run. You want to be accessing flood zone maps from local councils or the Queensland Government portal to be able to understand what kind of flooding affects your property. Number three are overlays impacting the property itself. Now what's this mean? Regulatory plans generally determine land use, and they can restrict property development and changes in the future. You want to refer to your local council's planning schemes and overlay maps to understand what kind of overlays are on your property. Number four, your floor plan and layout. Now this means the property's design and the space arrangement of the home. This is important because a functional layout can increase property desirability and value. You can easily check these out by physically inspecting a property or jumping online and having a look at the floor plan of the property. Number five is your bedroom sizing. Now, the dimensions of your bedroom are quite important because size matters for comfort, furniture placement, and overall appeal of a home. A good sized room is 9 square meters if built-in robes aren't included within the floor space. So you want to be looking at least 3 meter by 3 meters for a good sized bedroom. Number six is school catchments. Now these are the zones around schools where residents get preference in terms of enrolments. Now being in a good catchment is important because it can enhance the property value and appeal, and also ensure the rentability of your home because people will want to get into those areas for their children to get into the best schools. Now to check different catchments, you want to get on the Queensland Department of Education or any other Department of Education's websites to check out their catchment maps. Now number seven is your property type. Now this is whether the house is a high set or elevated home or a low set ground level home. Now this can be really important because it can influence things like maintenance, access and the property value, but also vitally important if you want to add a dual income to a property, for example, have an upstairs, downstairs, independent living areas to have dual incomes. Number 8 is your width of your frontage. Now the width of the property facing the street is what is called the frontage. Now, it's important because a wider frontage can offer more street appeal and potential future development opportunities. Now, number 9 is your block type, shape and slope. All right, now what this means is the land's physical characteristics. Now, it's important because it can affect your building potential, drainage, landscaping, etc. For example, a pie-shaped 800 square metre block is much less desirable than a rectangle 800 square metre block due to better development potential in the future. You can look at topographic maps for this or other floor plans that you have for the home. Number 10 is your zoning. Now, what this is the designed use of the property by the local council. Now, this is important because zoning dictates a property's use, its future development potential, and its overall value. Now, you can review this on the local government's zoning maps or property documents or see a town planner. Number 11 is your past building approvals. Now, these are previous permissions given for building works to have taken place on the property. Now, its importance is to ensure any renovations or extensions are actually legally approved, because if they're not, this can affect resale pretty drastically later down the line. You need to be asking the sellers for records or check with your local council for the records of past works done. Number 12 is your location within the suburb. Now, this is a property's position in relation to the suburb's amenities. It's important because things like proximity to amenities can significantly influence desirability and your overall price later on down the track. Use things like Google Maps or other mapping tools to actually get a good idea of what's surrounding your property. Number 13 is public transport, meaning the property's proximity to things like buses, trains, ferries, etc. Now, this is important because it enhances the convenience for residents and could actually boost your property value later down the track. You want to use things like your Transport Authority maps and the likes of Google Maps to establish where these sit within your property's area. Number 14 is your flight path and high voltage power line mapping. So what this means is your exposure to overhead planes and power lines. It's important because noise from overhead flight paths and potential health concerns from power lines can be detractors from your property pricing later on down the track, or just your appeal when you go to on sale later. To find out more about this, access maps from aviation authorities and power grid organisations. Number 15 are your bordering facilities, meaning things like nearby schools, parks, cemeteries, public spaces, and industrial areas. Now, all of these are important because they can influence noise, traffic, privacy, and ultimately your property's value. Properties adjacent to or bordering these facilities are less desirable in the long run in most cases, but not all cases. Now, if you want to find out, it's a Google Maps thing, or do a little bit of local area research. Number 16 are your shopping centres. And when I speak about shopping centres, I'm talking about the proximity to major retail areas. Now, this is important because nearby shops adds to convenience and can increase property appeal. Being too close can actually detract from your pricing and appeal later on because of the busyness of these areas. Use again things like Google Maps and your local area knowledge to find that out. Number 17 is your status of listing and reasons for sale. Now, what this means is, why is the property on the market in the first place? Now, to understand this is to understand the seller's motivations. All right, if a seller already has an offer on another property and they're pending their property to sell, it means they must sell it, which might give you a little bit more leverage during the negotiation process. Number 18 are recent renovations, meaning any changes or improvements made recently to the property. Now, the importance of this is to assess the quality and value that they actually add to the property. It's no use just being told that there's been a renovation done and not knowing what has actually taken place. Now, you need to ask the seller for details and the dates and the actual proof that the renovations were conducted by a professional and also approved by council. All right, number 19 is understanding if the property is tenanted. All right, now if someone's currently living in the property, this is really good for you as an investor because it can mean that you have an immediate tenant go in as soon as you purchase it. All right, now as pointed out, this can greatly influence negotiation strategies, catering more to investors, as I said, than owner-occupiers at this stage. So make sure you consult the property agent or owner to know when the lease goes through till. And finally, number 20 is your estimated gross yield. Now, this is the annual rental income as a percentage of the property price. Now, it's important because it helps gauge the potential rental returns. And how to do this? We divide the annual rental income by the property price and multiply this by 100. You want to be going on a yield that's 5% or above. And that wraps up our due diligence checklist. Now remember, every property is unique. Knowing what you're looking for gives you the upper hand. So before you take the next step, ensure you've crossed your T's and dotted your I's. Stay informed and stay ahead. Remember, this is a guide, and while we've tried to be comprehensive, always consult with professionals and conduct thorough research tailored to your specific needs and circumstances. And apart from that, thank you to everybody that's been supporting our YouTube videos. It's been amazing to watch this channel grow at the rate that it has, and it is actually warming our hearts. We love providing this content and we can't wait to bring more for you. Until next time, happy property navigating.